I feel that something move me. A beat that makes me want to dance. Take your partner, everybody. Let's have some fun. Dance. Dance to this cumbia. Move your hips. All the hands in the air and scream like crazy. Have you ever been a really big fan of someone? A really huge fan? All hands in the air and scream like crazy. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Alright, time for another story. A really tragic one. This one. Yeah, tragic because it's the waste of a life. It's just an unfair story. It's one of these ones where, I get really bugged by these where there's just no fucking sense behind it. There's just no need for what happened to actually happen. Now, before I get to it, let me just do some very, very quick shout-outs. Alright, hello to Leah Ruth Watson. Leah, I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling very well at the moment, and I hope that you can find a way to get better. But hello to you, and I'm glad that the podcast can help you when you're not feeling so good. Alright, this next one. Well, I missed a birthday and I'm really sorry that I did. But Macy Wambu, who is 17, is a big fan of the podcast. Now, I believe she's currently at boarding school and won't be hearing this till August. But when you do hear it, Macy, I hope you had a brilliant 17th birthday. Dolores Costella. Hello, Dolores. How are you? Hope you're well. And finally, Hayley Andrews. Hello, Hayley. Hi. I hope that you are good. Alright, on with the story. Okay, so yeah. Hope that you're going to enjoy this one. And I'm sure you'll let me know. Okay. Let's go. Alright, let's begin with Abraham and Marcelina Quintanilla. Now, my Mexican isn't the best, but I hope that's kind of close enough. Quintanilla? Pretty sure that's how you say it. Alright, Abraham. He was of Mexican origin, and his wife Marcelina, now she was half Mexican, half American. And they met in the early 60s. They married in 1963 and they moved to Texas. I'm going to say this. Before I started this podcast, I had no desire really to go to Texas. Not that I ever had anything against it, but there's just sometimes places in the world that you think, I don't know if I've ever really thought about visiting that place. But I don't know what it is. Of late, I'm like, I would really love to go to Texas. I don't know. Maybe there's people listening that are going, no, you don't, Barry. No, you really don't want to go to Texas. But anyway, yeah. Something about it just, It's drawing me, and I don't know what that is. Anyway, Abraham and Marcelina. Soon after they were married, they began their family and they had 3 kids. They had son Abraham the third, he was the firstborn. They had a daughter called Suzette, she was second. And then they had Selina, and Selina was the youngest. Now it's Selina that we are going to focus on in this story. So the family, well, they're living in Texas. They're not a particularly wealthy family. Abraham has a job, and Marcelina takes care of the home and takes care of the kids, because the kids are quite young. The kids were all born so well within a few years of each other. So, there's a lot going on. But not being wealthy didn't dampen their spirits. As a family, what they loved to do, loved, was play music together. They were a very musical family, much like I am musical. Now, Abraham, he'd played in a few sort of different bands here and there, and he was a big fan of the genre doo-wop. I'm not going to lie, I don't know what doo-wop is. Anyone? Help me? Get in touch. Let me know. What is doo-wop? I don't know. But anyway, this is what he was really into. So like I said, he had an actual job to support his family, which was in pharmaceuticals. But music was his passion. Try as Abraham might, and my God, he did. He just couldn't get anywhere with his music. And it's not that he was a bad musician, it's just that at the time, as he perceived it, there was a racism going on within Texas. He was a Mexican musician trying to make his way, and he felt like he just kept coming across barriers. He just kept meeting no's all the time whenever he tried to further his music career. So he went to work in his pharmaceutical job, and at home they still enjoyed playing music as a family. So what would happen is Abraham and his son, the eldest, whose name had been shortened to AJ, they would play the guitar, and the girls in the family, so the mum and Suzette and Selina, they would sing. So, they would get together all the time and play different music, and AJ would write them different things. Now, Abraham began to notice something. He began to notice that when they were singing together, his youngest daughter, Selina, now she was only 6, he was beginning to notice that she was proving to be the most musical of the whole family. Now, he realised AJ, his son, was not bad. AJ was only 11 years old or something at this point. Wasn't bad at putting together a few melodies and a song, and they all played their part. But there was just something different about Selina. She had a really great voice. She could sing the bejesus out of anything. And on top of that, she was an entertainer. She really enjoyed the performing side of things. And I suppose there has to be a bit of you that stops and goes, is this just like dad's pride? Is it just a case of his dad going, oh, I think my daughter's really good? Well, no, because everybody agreed that Selina had a definite musical ability. What Abraham and Marcelina would do is they would invite the neighbours around to watch the family perform music, and they all agreed, yeah, she is amazing. For 6 years old, very, very talented. So, what did Abraham do? Well, he began to conduct a plan. You see, Abraham had 2 major passions in his life. His first was music. His second was food. Now, how can you bring those two things together? If you've not got an awful lot of money, you're a fairly poor family, how in the hell could you bring music and food together? Well, Abraham came up with this plan. He was going to take the very little amount of money that the family had, and he was going to open a Mexican restaurant in Texas. And that's what he did. He opened a family-run... Start again. He opened a family-run restaurant, and within that restaurant, he built a stage. And on that stage, the family performed every single night for the diners in that restaurant, and at the front there was Selena singing her little heart out, 6 years old. He called the band Selena and Family. Now, this business venture, it was a bit of a risk, but it turned out to be an excellent idea. The restaurant did exceptionally well. People loved the band. They loved Selena. And word actually began to spread very quickly. There is this incredible child singer. You have to come and see her, because she's absolutely brilliant. She has this big voice, and she's such an entertainer. And so the restaurant was thriving and thriving. Now, Abraham, not a man who just puts up with what's going on at the moment, always looking to the future. He thinks, okay, I'm going to invite some big people from the music industry to come and see our band and come and just see how good my daughter is. Now, in life, there is nothing more annoying than things that are just out of your control. And unfortunately, for the family, something out of their control is about to hit them really hard, and that is a financial crisis. So Texas hits a really bad financial crisis at this point, and there just isn't the money for people to be going out to restaurants. People are having to cut their cloth accordingly. They're having to really weigh up, can they afford to be going to restaurants? And basically, in the place where they'd opened the restaurant, businesses began to close all over the place, and one of them was the family restaurant. So that's a bit of a kick for the whole family, but for Abraham really, because he'd sort of put all of his eggs in one basket with this. But that didn't mean he had given up on the dream, because, inspirational speech moment. If you've got a dream, don't give up on it. Thanks very much. You can trademark me saying that. I'm sure no one's ever said those words before. So what does Abraham do? Well, he takes the family band on the road. I love this idea. I love the idea that he just packs them all up into a car, their guitars, their drums, their whatever, and they become a travelling troupe. So they basically just went around Texas, and he would book them into any club, any bar that would take them. I mean, let's not forget, his kids are still 6, 8, and maybe 11 or 12 at this point. But yeah, no worries. Let them into a club. No problem. In you come. But any venue that would take them, Abraham was straight in there. They played various weddings. They played christenings. Oh, they were just they played street corners for money. They would just, do whatever. Abraham was so convinced that they were going to be this really, 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 really big, popular, well-known band. And it takes a few years. It takes time. It takes hard graft. It takes a lot of work. But they do actually start to get noticed. And I just think this next bit is really fascinating. So the family band become very, very popular. And record companies start to hear just about how good they are, but also just about how good Selena's voice is. And they're given the opportunity to record their first album in Spanish. And now here's what's interesting. Selena spoke no Spanish. No, me no speak Spanish, senor. No, she didn't speak a word of it. What she had to do was she had to learn the songs phonetically. She just had to learn the sounds and then be able to record those and sing those. Now, on the side of it, I honestly just think that's so strange. She's just recording in a language that's not her own. Because she was English speaking. So, Abraham, her dad, yes, he was Mexican and he was Spanish speaking, but also spoke English, as obviously. Her mum, Marcelina, was half American, so she also spoke English. And so the family were raised speaking English. Yes, they knew bits and pieces of Spanish, but they weren't Spanish speakers. So she had to be given Spanish lessons so that when people were wanting to interact with her about the band, she would be able to converse with them in Spanish. Because there was a little bit of pickup now on them. They were allowed to record their first album. There were some radio interviews were starting to happen, but they were looking for Spanish speakers to do this. So the band start to really, really, really rise in popularity. I think it's impressive that Abraham took that risk. It is a risk. He packed them all up in his car and went, nah, we're gonna just dedicate this to the thing that I'm passionate about, but as a family we're also passionate about. Now, they worked and they grafted for years, and their popularity, it just sort of steadily grew. I think you're going to find this as we go on. There's a couple of things in this story, and what interests me is that we're back in a time, this is sort of like late 70s. We're back in a time when within like the music industry, or I don't know, I guess it's wider than the music industry, but within a lot of things, it took hard bloody work to get somewhere. No one was Insta famous, as the people say about Instagram, or no one just suddenly burst onto the scene out of nowhere and were selling all the records in the world. It was a slow, steady climb. I'm a bit of a pop music geek, but in those days, if you wanted a number one album or a number one song, your song didn't go in at number one in the charts and everybody gave you a big round of applause and went, oh my god, great, you're number one this week. No, you went in at number 100 on the charts, and it took months, but you climbed and you climbed and you climbed. I think there's something really interesting in that, and you know something? I love the way that we receive music and TV and everything so instantly and so quickly these days. I'm sorry, there appears to be an alarm going off near me and I don't know where the hell it's coming from. Okay. I love the way that we receive music and TV and films and media at such a rate, because yeah, it helps our busy lives and that's fine. But I think there's a bit of something missing in the fact that in the old days, you weren't a success within a week. Twitter, you didn't suddenly go from no one knows who I am, oh my god, I've got 18 million followers. You grafted at it, you worked away at it. Anyway, that's that's a bit of an old-fashioned belief in me, but anyway, that's what I feel. So in those years when they grafted, they worked hard, the popularity kept growing, and Selena by now was 15 years old. She was very much 15 and a teenager, and they were ready, the family band, to go big, ready to go to the next level. By 1987, Selena was winning big at award ceremonies. And there's something really interesting to point out here. She was winning within her genre, which was Tejano. I hope I've said that correctly. So Tejano gets described as Tex-Mex style of music. But this was a very, very male dominated industry. Very, very male dominated. And it wasn't usual for female vocalists to be winning at these award ceremonies. Mexican bands didn't generally have a female on lead, let alone that female be a teenager. That was something absolutely original. That was something really that hadn't been seen before. I think if you look back at lots of the stories of the first females to ever really achieve things in the world, especially in male dominated environments, Selena was really up there in terms of that. Whether or not at 15 years old she knew that's what she was doing, I don't know. Although she wasn't daft, so she probably did know that's what she was doing. But yeah, it was just incredible to see her and the family band rise up, and people really, within the music industry, where it was male dominated, really applaud this young woman for her incredible, incredible talent. So over the next few years, the popularity just keeps increasing. And really, it's all about Selena. It's all just about how many people now love and adore her. Men and women just went crazy for her. They just thought she was this incredible person, incredible performer. So let's go to the 1990s. Within the Tejano style of music, Selena was absolutely the queen. Now, at this time, major record labels, they were beginning to look for a crossover artist, someone that was making, Spanish, Mexican music, but could also cross over into that mainstream USA worldwide market and be singing in English. So, I suppose if we think about it now, you've got Jennifer Lopez, right? So J-Lo, she's that kind of artist, I guess. But at the time of Selena, there wasn't really a great deal of that about. You had, what's her name? What's her name? Jennifer Estefan. Jennifer Estefan. She was kind of kicking about at the time, but she was really more popular in her own language, not so much in the English. She was a bit popular, but they were looking for someone who would probably explode onto that scene, and they thought that Selena might just be that person. Now, a bit about Selena. This is what I think's interesting. She gets a bit rebellious. She gets to 18 years old. And when I say rebellious, you will learn in this story, she is the just loveliest soul in the world. She's just a really nice person. But she's just, when I say rebellious, I guess she's just doing the things that, everyone goes through. She's 18. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's incredibly popular. She's not developed any sort of ego from it. She's still very much grounded. She's still very much herself. But what she wants to do is, she wants to start wearing her own clothes on stage. She's kind of been dressed in a certain way, and she feels like it's a bit older than she wants to wear. She wants to kind of wear stuff that's just maybe a little bit sexier, a little bit more free, and a bit more her own style. So at the time, this is the early 90s, you had Madonna strutting about in, I don't know, God knows what, probably naked. But Selena was like, I'm not saying I want to go that far, but I wouldn't mind wearing a wee low-cut top. I wouldn't mind raising, the line of my skirt slightly. And her dad, Abraham, is like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No daughter of mine will wear a skimpy dress on stage. But then you have this difficulty because Selena's going, well, look, I'm really popular because people like me, I have to have my own identity. within that. And you've also got the other bit, which is the record label are going, well, if we're going to try and cross her over into being a worldwide artist, a part of the image has to be that she's young, she's sexy, she's in control of her own look. But her dad just didn't like it. Now, clothes aside, career-wise, recording-wise, things are just going from strength to strength. She's recording now under her solo name Selena, and she records a solo single and it becomes a huge hit. It becomes absolutely massive, and the record companies are like, yes, 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 this song is going to put her on the map. And it does. She's suddenly everywhere. Her face is everywhere. In fact, Coca-Cola come to her and they make her the face of Coca-Cola in Texas, in Mexico. You know, she's becoming a brand, Selena, at this moment. Let's just introduce another character into the story here. There is a musician by the name of Chris Perez. Now, who was he? Well, he was a heavy metal guitarist who played in various different heavy metal bands at the time. Selena's brother AJ, he was good. He was good within the music stuff. He knew what he was doing. He was still writing. In fact, some of Selena's biggest songs, her brother was responsible for writing. He was very much looking after what she was producing musically. And he sees this Chris Perez play his heavy metal rock guitar and he thinks, I think there's a sound that he's producing that Selena could really benefit from. I think if we could bring this guy in to play guitar, that would be really good. Of course, Abraham, the dad, goes, no way, absolutely not. No chance. Not having some heavy metal guitarist come into Selena's music. And AJ is like, look, Dad, trust me. See, AJ knew how to write the hits. He knew how to write what people wanted to buy from Selena. So he goes to Chris, he approaches him, and he says, would you be interested in playing with my sister, Selena? And I write and you can play and whatever. And Chris Perez is like, no, this is not my thing. No, I'm sorry, this is too poppy for me. This is too pop music, that's not my thing. But AJ talks him round. And how AJ does it is he actually talks him round by going, look at the craftsmanship of what goes in to building a Selena record. We're not just churning out pop after pop after pop. It's not just hit factory here. We're actually musicians. And that changes Chris Perez's mind, and he goes, actually, you are all proper musicians. And Selena has a very, very clear idea about what she wants musically, how to understand music. You know, she gets it. She's not just this like, I don't know, who am I thinking of? But you know, like one of those ones where you're like, someone's just put out in front and they actually have no idea how the whole factory behind them is making the music. Selena was different. She actually did understand it. And so he goes, right, okay, I will join them. I will join you. So he's a few years older than Selena. Not many. But the two of them, they start to realise that they have feelings for each other. Now straight away, Selena starts to worry because she thinks her dad won't approve. And she would be right. Again, I think it's that, it's the difficult crossroads in her life. She's a star at this moment. She's 18, but she's scared to tell her dad that she's got a boyfriend. So they have to keep the relationship secret. So Chris, the guitarist, and Selena, they are absolutely head over heels in love with each other, but they can't say anything about it. By this time, Selena's songs are becoming big hits in the USA across the mainstream charts, which is really important. So she's moved out of the Tejano charts and that Spanish side of music, and she's moving into the mainstream. Now, what comes with this level of fame is obviously a lot of fans. And what do fans have? Well, they have fan clubs. So, this was 1990. So I guess, fan clubs, they were a thing. Let me think. I was 1990. I would have been, I was definitely part of the Kylie Minogue fan club. There was a magazine that used to come out in the UK called Smash Hits. I don't know if it maybe came out elsewhere in the world, but yeah, I was part of the Smash Hits fan club. But yeah, these days you don't get fan clubs. Oh, please get in touch and let me know what fan clubs you were part of. I would love to know. I would love to know that. But yeah, these days I guess they don't really exist. Anyway, Selena had a big fan by the name of Yolanda Salvador. Now, Yolanda was in her 30s and she just loved Selena. She just loved her. So Yolanda, she calls Selena's dad, Abraham, and she asks, "Can I start the Selena fan club?" And Abraham says, No. Not got time for this. There's too much going on. No. Now, again, this is where it's not like the old days. Yolanda wouldn't take no for an answer. You see, she had come from a very poor Mexican family. She had also grown up in Texas. And for her, Selena was an inspiration. She was this goddess who stood for strength, for the fight against poverty. She was witnessing the birth of this new female icon. No exaggeration, right? I know it sounds like I'm going on a lot about Selena, but she was getting compared to Madonna. Not in terms of controversy, but in terms of being groundbreaking. This sheer determination, this sheer tenacity to be something. People really loved her, and Yolanda was her biggest fan. Yolanda was a registered nurse. She had nothing to do with the music industry. She had nothing to do with any of that. She just really loved her. So when I say she wouldn't take no for an answer, what I mean is she just kept calling Abraham. How she had Selena's dad's direct number, I do not know. Again, this is you wouldn't have a pop star's dad's phone number these days, would you? Can you imagine? Imagine me. Hello? Oh, hi there. Is this Mr. Minogue? Oh, hiya. It's Barry here. It just wouldn't happen. But I read something ridiculous like 17 times Yolanda called Abraham to say, "Can I set up the fan club? Can I set up the fan club?" And eventually he goes, "Okay, fine, set up the fan club." So she does. So the duties of the fan club, really for Yolanda, were things like going through the fan mail. She sometimes communicated with fans on Selena's behalf. Now, actually, to give her credit, she does quite a good job. Everyone's quite happy with the job that she's doing. So then she gets given a little more power. She starts to organise and schedule autograph signings and appearances for Selena. On a personal level, Selena actually really liked Yolanda, and she was happy that there was someone there to deal with fan mail. In a way, they were kind of friends. I don't mean they were the best of friends, but there was a definite relationship between the two of them. So Yolanda's position actually quickly began to escalate even further. She became an assistant to Selena. Now, for her, that's incredible, because she's like, I'm possibly her biggest fan, and I've gone from the fan club to now her assistant. And again, a little bit of a close relationship developed between the two of them. So things are going well. But here's another slightly tricky, just growing up and, bit of a crossroads in her life. Selena's on the road touring. She's got AJ, her brother, there. She's got a few other staff. She's got Yolanda, her assistant. And of course, Chris, her boyfriend, is there. So their relationship's still very much a secret. No one knows about it. Well, not for long. Because you see, the press are following Selena now wherever she goes. And there happens to be a photograph of her and Chris together. It makes its way into the newspapers, and her dad sees that picture. He discovers the relationship and he is not happy. Not at all. Abraham says to Selena, I will basically put an end to all of this. I will put my foot down and stop this whole music thing if you don't break up with him. If Chris just does not go at this moment, and we'll just replace him with a new guitarist. So Chris leaves the musical act. Off he goes. But the relationship doesn't end. What Selena suggests is that her and Chris, they elope in secret. And that's exactly what they do. They get married in secret. And of course, the press expose it very quickly. And Abraham, when he discovers this, is furious. He is so furious with his daughter. You see, Abraham has a theory. And the theory is this. He thinks that Chris is just all about the money. He thinks that actually this guy is just in it to get the money that Selena is making. But everyone else around Abraham will say, I think you're wrong. I think you're totally wrong about Chris. I genuinely think they're in love. I think that they're really deeply in love. So Abraham thinks about it. And he goes to find Selena and Chris. He talks to them. And he apologises. He says, I realise now I was wrong. And he says, I'm actually sorry that what I've done is I've forced you to feel like you had to elope. I've backed you into a corner is basically what I've done. And I shouldn't have done that. I can see that you are just a young couple in love. Now this is a real breakthrough for Selena, and it's a chance for her to talk honestly with her dad. And she says, look, I know I'm young, but I love him. And I really love this career, and I will do this career for as long as it will take me. But there's other things in life that I want. I want a family. I want a big, happy family home in the way that you gave me. That's what I want. And Chris is the man to give me that. And Abraham says, okay, fine, then you have my blessing to be married and be happy. So, Selena's third solo album is just about to be released. Now this is where it's going to really cement her stardom. She sells millions with that third album. And from here, it just got better and better. Her next solo album would see her win a Grammy Award and the most successful album of the year by a Mexican artist. This is pretty incredible because by now she's early 20s. So, like I said before, Selena had a big love of clothing. And in the way that lots of artists diversify their brand, Selena thought, right, okay, I'm going to diversify and I'm going to go towards what I really want to do, and my dream is to open a major clothing line. So, the Selena boutiques are set up, and first of all, there's one opened in Texas and there's one opened in California. Now, what Selena needs for these boutiques was someone who could run them, someone who could do the finances, someone who could do all the stuff like ordering stock, hiring staff, running all the money. She needed all that. So, who did she turn to? Well, she went to Yolanda. After all, Yolanda had done a brilliant job in the fan club. She'd done a great job of being Selena's assistant. So why could she not be the manager of these boutiques? So the Selena boutiques were called, what was the name again? I think the name was really bad. Oh, they were called Selena, etc. I think that's an awful name for a boutique. I would have called them something like Sexy Selena's. No, that's shit as well, actually. Selena's Styles. No, that's really awful as well. Well, clearly, if you're needing a boutique named, don't come to me, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Incredibly, in the first 2 years, the boutiques brought in $6 million. So Yolanda is managing them, and it's going really well. Selena's designing all the clothes, and all the time, her solo singing career is going through the roof. Her 4th album just begins to break all kinds of records. She has 5 number ones in the USA. She wins 2 Grammy Awards, and now she's on a world stage, Selena. Newspapers, magazines, they're hailing her as one of the most influential females for her age at the time. So this is a lovely story of girl done good. But you know the story. We hear it all the time. And we know only too well that with these success stories, and especially these child stars who become huge, there is a darkness heading towards the story. By 1995, Selena was a multi-million-dollar brand, and the music side of things is going exceptionally well. What wasn't going so well were the boutiques. And the reason that they weren't going so well is because Yolanda Salvador was turning out to be an absolute nightmare. Basically, she was just a bit too big for her boots. She'd grown this kind of idea that she was this integral part of Selena. Now I get that, she's running the boutiques, right, and they're doing really well, and there's various boutiques all over America, and she's managing them all. But staff will say at the time, she just had this kind of weird thing where sometimes it was like she thought she was Selena, or I don't know what it was, but it was just something weird in her behaviour. She was hiring and firing people all over the place, and people felt like they couldn't trust her as a manager. They didn't know what was going on. The difficulty is, a lot of the people who worked in the boutiques were big Selena fans, and what they were seeing was this very difficult thing where they were going, but Selena's always remained really grounded, even with all this success. And now Yolanda, the woman who once ran the fan club, is really bringing down the good Selena name because she's crazy as a manager. So the staff, rather than go to Selena, they went to Abraham. They thought he might be the best bet here. So they went to Abraham and they just said, look, Yolanda is an absolute nightmare to work for. Can you do something about it? They're saying she's erratic. They're starting to say things like money keeps disappearing out of the shops and we don't know and we don't want to point the finger at her, but something isn't right. The fan club, also now being managed supposedly still by Yolanda, starts to complain. They're saying we're sending in money for Selena items and we're not getting those items. So Abraham decides he's going to do an investigation. He's not going to bother Selena with it at the moment. He's just going to do his own investigation. what he discovers is this: $35,000 has gone missing across the boutiques. Now, Abraham, not a man to take anything lightly or take anything sitting down, he was furious. And so what he does is he calls a meeting. And he says to Yolanda, okay, I want you to come here and I want you to meet me. We're just going to go through a few things about the boutique. So Yolanda walks into that meeting, no idea what she's really going to have to talk about. And when she walks in, Selena is in the room. And she's shocked. She's really shocked that Selena is there. And Abraham is there. And Abraham is looking furious. And basically, Abraham just confronts her with it. He says, look, $35,000 is missing. And also, we are missing lots of different documents. There's lots of financial documents from the boutiques and we can't find them. Where are they? And Yolanda starts to get all flustered and she's like, I don't know what's happening and I've just made a mistake with some things here and there and the money's here, but it's just that I've put it in the wrong place and I've done this and I've done that. And Abraham's like, do you know what? I'm just going to fire you on the spot. And Selena jumps in and Selena says, no, let's not. Let's not be hasty. Let's not fire Yolanda. Let's give her a chance to bring us the documents and see if we can sort out where this money might be. See, this is the thing we're going to learn. Selena was almost just too nice. So it all starts to just get a little bit weird. Yolanda has documents and then she can't find the documents. And there's things that Selena actually needs to be able to, pay her taxis and do things, but Yolanda can't find them. So Selena goes to the boutiques herself when she knows Yolanda isn't there, and she speaks to staff and they just complain loudly about Yolanda. So Selena thinks, do you know what? I'm going to take some action here. She calls Yolanda and she says, look, can we meet in a restaurant, just me and you can give me the missing paperwork. We'll take my angry dad out of the situation. You and I will meet in a restaurant and you can hand me the documents and we'll say, fine. And then we'll all just carry on as we were. Now, if there's ever a moment in a story, if there is ever a moment in a story where you want something to change, you want it to be this moment. They meet in a restaurant, and when Yolanda gets there, she still can't produce the paperwork. And she says to Selena, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to walk away from it all. And Selena, being a lovely person, says, no, don't. Don't quit. Don't quit. Stay with me. Stay with the company. Just, we'll figure this out. We'll find a way to get the paperwork. So Yolanda is so grateful and she says, thank you so much, Selena. Thank you for not accepting my resignation. Give me a few days and I promise I'll find that paperwork. So a few days pass and Yolanda calls Selena and she says, I'm staying in the Days Inn motel. I have the paperwork now if you want to come and get it from me. So Selena goes, great, fantastic, I'll be there. She drives over. She goes in to Yolanda's hotel room. Yolanda hands her a file. And when Selena looks through it, it's still not even half of the things that she needs. And she says, Yolanda, this is still not what I need. You told me you had it. Where is it? Yolanda starts to cry. She breaks down and she says, I'm sorry, my head's an absolute mess. I was raped last week. Now, Selena, as someone who's known Yolanda for years and considers her in some ways a friend, is absolutely shocked. And she says, I'm so sorry, Yolanda, that that's happened to you. Let's take you right now, to my private doctor, and we'll get you examined. And Yolanda says, no, I don't want that. I don't want it. Please just go home and leave me. And I'll be in contact in the next few days when I've found the other documents, and just don't tell anyone about the rape. So Selina leaves Yolanda and she goes home. But she's still got Yolanda on her mind, and she's thinking, God, that poor woman, she's been through a rape and she's too scared to tell anyone. So the following morning, Selina gets a phone call, and it's Yolanda. Yolanda says, I've changed my mind. I would like to go and see a doctor. And Selina says, that's fine. I'll come over to the motel right now. I'll pick you up and I'll take you straight to the doctor. And that's exactly what happens. So the doctor does an examination. And at the end of the examination, he takes Selina aside and he says, there are no signs of rape. There is not a single sign of any kind of sexual assault. So Selina is furious. She hides her fury, and what she does is she takes Yolanda in her car and they drive back to the drop-in motel. Once inside Yolanda's hotel room, an argument breaks out. Yolanda and Selina begin shouting at each other. Selina says to her, I am sick of the lies. Yolanda, I just want nothing to do with you now. You've taken money from my company. You've lied to me. You've told me you were raped and you weren't. It's too much, right? I should have taken your resignation when you offered it. This is over. She turns to go, and it's at that point Yolanda produces a gun. She points it at Selina, and Selina begs Yolanda not to shoot her. Selina turns to run out of the room, and Yolanda does shoot. She fires at Selina, and the bullet hits her shoulder. Immediately, Selina is bleeding and she's in shock. Now she runs out of the motel room and she heads to where she thinks it might be safe. She goes straight for the hotel lobby. She gets into the lobby, blood pouring out of her shoulder. And she says to the man on reception, I've just been shot and I think the shooter is running after me. And she was right. Yolanda Salvador was running after Selina to finish the job. Now at this point, Selina is becoming weak. She falls down onto the lobby floor and she says to staff, can you please just close all of the entrances, just block her from getting in, because I think she's going to kill me and she has a gun and I don't know who else she's going to shoot. As she's lying on the floor, she's saying to staff, her name is Yolanda Salvador, don't forget it. So Yolanda is chasing Selina around and she can't find her. So what she does is she gets into her car and she starts driving around the grounds of the motel trying to hunt down Selina. And I love this. I absolutely love this. Staff got into their cars and what they did was they went to basically every exit of the motel and they blocked any chance of Yolanda being able to leave. Police had been called. They arrived. And when they find Yolanda in her car, she holds the gun to her head and says, I'm going to shoot myself. Selina is rushed to the hospital. In the car park of the motel, Yolanda is now completely surrounded by police. And police are asking her, come out of the car. But she was absolutely crazed. She was crying, she was screaming that Selena was a bitch, and this went on for hours. Police could not get her out of that car. They just couldn't get her out of the car. She still was holding the gun to her head. So Selena's arrived at the hospital, and her family are called, and they're told, look, Selena's been shot, but she's going to be okay. She'll be fine. She's lost some blood, but we're working on her now. She'll be okay. So the family race towards the hospital. Not long after that call had been placed to the family, telling them that Selena was going to be fine, between the combination of blood loss and a cardiac arrest, Selena died. Aged 23, Selena was dead. So Yolanda is still in the car park, surrounded by police. Now the very last thing that police wanted Yolanda to know was that Selena was dead. They thought she's just going to go crazy. And that might be she turns the gun on herself, she turns the gun on others, who knows. But in the car, Yolanda has the radio on. And there's one of these breaking news headlines. And she hears it on the radio. She hears that Selena is dead, and she's a mix of shocked, terrified, and at this moment just completely surrounded. Now at 10 p.m. at night, eventually, when they get her to give herself up. By this point, crowds of Selena fans had turned up at the motel. They were baying for blood at this point. They wanted Yolanda Salvador dead. You know, they were gunning for her at this moment. But Yolanda is put into a police car and she's taken away. So now the news is out there, and there are vigils being held all across America. The motel becomes a shrine to Selena. People travel for miles to lay flowers, to bring their albums, bring their Selena posters, bring anything that they can. And Yolanda Salvador becomes this figure of absolute hatred. So because of the mounting sort of public pressure against it, it gets fast-tracked to court, and Yolanda is charged with first-degree murder. Now, the defence. My God, the defence have got a hard job on their hands here. Those really big public ones, I always think, my God, the defence must be like, it must be hard being defence or, prosecution anytime. But when it's this high profile, it must be like, oh my God, this is even scarier. So the defence team try to find a way for Yolanda to be saved within this, and all sorts of things are tried in court. Yolanda will say, it was an accident. The gun just went off in my hand and I didn't mean it. And of course, the prosecution will say, well then why did you chase her round the hotel, pointing the gun, shouting, bitch? Why did you do that? Yolanda then tries, actually I did it because I was scared of Abraham, her father. He terrifies me. And they say, okay, so the solution to you being scared of her father was to shoot her. Doesn't make any sense. At one point, this is awful, Yolanda tries to claim that members of Selena's family had been systematically raping her for years, and that Abraham was involved in those rapes. But there is no proof. There is not one single bit of proof that makes that stand up at all. And by this point, Yolanda is on like her fourth, fifth excuse in court about why she shot Selena. They bring in people who knew Yolanda, and they talk about the fact that her entire life was Selena. Every bit of her, home was covered in Selena posters, Selena merchandise. She was obsessed. She wouldn't talk about anything else other than Selena. It was just her obsession. So the jury, right, they've heard that it was an accident. Oh, I did it because I was scared. Oh, it was to do with rape. And they're not buying any of this. Yolanda is found guilty and is sentenced to life in prison. And this feels like a victory for Selena fans. So now comes Selena's funeral. 60,000 people turn out to that funeral. Fans are holding vigils all over the city. The family are actually forced to open Selena's casket at the funeral and let fans, one by one, come down and cry at the sight of Selena in a coffin. There is now in Texas a Selena Day every year. It was actually George W. Bush that put that in place. I can't remember what the date is. I think it's somewhere in June. There's a National Selena Day. So at the time of her death, at the age of 23, her record sale statistics were in the same league as Janet Jackson, Madonna, Mariah Carey. The Selena brand, it still continues in some ways. There are benefit concerts, there are Selena films, there's Selena documentaries. Her sister took over the clothing and the makeup range. It's all very difficult because you can carry these things on when a person's dead, but if the person themselves isn't there, there's always that thing that it's going to feel a little bit empty, isn't it? For all those fans and for the family, they were left with just a major hole in their lives. But, if you were to try and find any kind of a silver lining, I guess it would be that nowadays, crossover artists, they just happen. They appear. It's fast. We don't think about it. We don't even question it anymore when these people come out of the blue. But Selena was the first to do that. She was really the groundbreaker in that way. And I think the sad thing is really, she died at age 23, probably never knowing that actually she would pave the way for so many artists to come in the future. And I suppose the lesson to be learned is just beware of your biggest fan. And so ends the story. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's not a nice story by any means, but yeah, I think it's really interesting. One of the things I read about afterwards when I had done my research was actually talking about that idea of crossover artists. I know I mentioned J-Lo earlier on. This is so peculiar. I just think it's something sort of weird in this. J-Lo had, in her early career, I think done like a few bit parts in TV soaps and a few bits here and there, but nothing major. Her breakthrough, the thing that broke Jennifer Lopez, was actually when they decided to make a Selena film and they had to cast Selena. Now there was 2,000 actresses went up for the role of Selena, and it was Jennifer Lopez that got that role. And it was from that role that she got her recording contract. And that was all the reason that we now know Jennifer Lopez. That we now know this huge international star. I think there's some sort of I think there's actually something quite nice in that. There's some sort of nice Selena legacy in that some way her story, not that I particularly I'm a big lover of J-Lo. I wouldn't trust her as far as you could throw her. And she's quite tall, so I wouldn't even try throwing her that far. But I think there's something interesting. It feels like the story's kind of folding in on itself a little bit when you go, oh, actually, Selena's death brought another crossover artist into the mainstream. She's now huge. She's also paving the way in her own way for other people. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. So I'm gonna just get out of here. Until the next episode, I hope you're well, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay? Goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.